I okay, I got it now. All right, great.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Today is it is what, June 25th? It is June 25th. We're
Yes.
still admitting people in from the waiting room. Can you let the people in from the waiting room? Because I know it involves more tapping around. I am on my phone. Yeah, June 25th, 2024, as I usually like to identify the date. I am in Indianola, Mississippi, in the B.B. King Museum. So I am not secluded as one would like to be in meditation, but that does not preclude practicing mindfulness. And there's a lot to feel, a lot to be present for in this space. And I also found an error in one of the texts that referred to Paul Butterfield as an electric guitarist. And everybody knows that Paul Butterfield played the harmonica. It was Michael Bloomfield who played the lead guitar in the Paul Butterfield Blues Band. But anyway, I will report that to the proper authorities so that we don't want any inaccuracies here. So we usually start with a period of meditation. And so I will attempt to guide that. I don't have a bell. I have a bell in my car, but I didn't bring it in. It seemed a little odd. But I'll just say when the time is up. So we're going to sit for 20 minutes, and I'll give a little guidance, and I'm going to mute myself so that we don't get too much background noise. So just beginning by establishing a comfortable posture. Either sitting upright or lying down. And bringing attention into the body, just feeling how you're holding the body right now. And then feeling the body breathing. Now the breath can be contacted through the touch of air at the nostrils, the movement of the belly and chest. And we can feel it as an energetic system operating in the body. The in-breath has an opening quality. The out-breath a release. You can use those two aspects of the breath to modulate our own energy. If we need more space, more openness, if we need a sense of calming, releasing. And the tendency of the mind is to fall into habitual patterns of thought, projections to the future, memories, past. And when we notice those thoughts arising, we try to let them go and come back to the breath that is always here in the present moment. we can feel the pull of thought, longing for distraction, for entertainment, the pull away from just feeling, being with our own heart and mind. Much like the pull of addiction. There can be an inner tension with this. And so again, we breathe with that. We breathe into that feeling, opening with the in-breath, releasing with the out-breath. In a sense, we are releasing ego, opening to the space of mind, to awareness itself. Our conditioning is so deep that this process of opening and letting go must be repeated over and over. We train ourselves to become aware when we're being swept away. We start to attune to the arising of that grasping energy. Can sometimes catch it just as it rises and let it go. And all of this with kindness, with care, not adding another layer of grasping to be good, grasping to be a meditator, just a sense of ease and kindness to ourselves as we sit with the body and with the breath. Ding, ding, ding. I turned around so I could lean against something, holding up my phone. I hope the background isn't too distracting. A lot of light. It's a little bit warm here in Mississippi. So welcome everybody. I should switch over to the different view so I'm not looking at myself. I'd like to see everybody. So yeah, I'm in the middle of this kind of road trip, teaching trip, and so yeah, I'm at the B.B. King Museum in Indianola, Mississippi, and I thought I'd just share a little bit about this trip because it's what I'm doing, and I don't know what else to talk about. But I actually left. I flew out of San Francisco right after our class last Tuesday, and flew to Atlanta, where I have we could call a step niece, my brother's niece from his second marriage, and she was very kind to invite me to stay with her and her husband, and they're both sober and have read my work, though they're not. I wouldn't call them, Kevin groupies or anything. They're not in the cult, um, but her husband's not working right now, and so we got to hang out, and he took me on Wednesday into Atlanta to the Atlanta Shambhala Center, which is, of course, a place that's gone through its own crises, particularly in the last few years. You can look it up, but Shambhala itself had some leadership problems. But there, I had long known that there was a group called One Breath at a Time. It's been there almost 20 years. And I'll see if I can show you what they, I don't know, can you wait? My wrist. Anyway, they have wristbands that say one breath at a time that they give out there. So I'm like, these are my people here. So very, very sweet. And they had a big turnout for just a noon meeting, and I gave a talk there and sold books, and just delightful, and I, I think one of the themes for me of this trip is, my relationship to the South, and the history here and the politics. And as someone from the North, I grew up tremendously prejudiced about the South. Really just really looked down on the South and Southerners, if you had a Southern accent or something. But of course, then being in Georgia, it's like, wow, this place has had some changes. Like they've got two Democratic senators, one of whom is black, and they're a big part of the last election. And so, again, sort of, all right, like that's some stereotype people, because here's these Buddhists in recovery, and from there, my step nephew decided to come on the retreat at the very last minute. I was teaching a retreat just over the border into Alabama, starting on last Thursday until Sunday. It was put on by a group called Flowering Lotus. So if you're ever looking for a retreat, look up Flowering Lotus. They put on retreats across the South. They're kind of between Jackson, Mississippi, and New Orleans. They're kind of based across there, but they have like a U-Haul trailer that they fill up with zafus and stuff, and they go to different retreat centers. So this was held at a Catholic place that's kind of done. Like there's not much going on there except for a lot of icons and a lot of Jesuses on crosses, and but it was really, really lovely retreat. And um, again, to share something else that for you to know about, that there's a foundation called Hemera, Hemera, and they um, sponsored this retreat so that people, for a 3-night retreat, people only had to pay $125. Hemera gave them like $10,000 grant. Quite amazing. So that meant that there were more young people than typically on my retreats, which was lovely. Um, and just it's such a gift to be able to do what I do. I mean, you guys hang out with me a lot, and you know, uh, to have people just come and sit. And a lot of people who were new to retreats, new to practice, and to try to guide them and help them and have them be interested and be able to teach them about the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. It's really, really inspiring and just a huge gift for me. Um, yeah, so one of the people on that retreat is somebody I've known for quite a long time. She's a therapist who works at some treatment centers up. Uh, I met her in Nashville probably over a decade ago, and so she was kind of helping me out, and she then gave me a ride up to Birmingham at the end of the retreat. So um, about a 3-hour ride, and then as I do, I had always known that in Alabama there's something called the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail, and Robert Trent Jones is kind of the grandfather of American golf course design. So I thought that I'd make that stop. Well, okay. Here's a story for you. I mean, incredible, beautiful golf course. They had 3 golf courses, one of which was closed for the police officers' golf tournament. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm not. That's good. You guys stay over there on that course. Uh, and and so I get up to the tee box, and this pair of gentlemen come up. One of them's probably in his 40s, got a blonde ponytail. He turns out to be an incredible golfer. He's turned out to be a professional golfer, a golf teacher, and his friend was a bit older, more in my generation. And by the second tee green, somehow it come out like, yeah, I'm here teaching mindfulness. And this guy with the ponytail is like, are you a Buddhist? And I'm like, uh-oh, like, am I going to be in trouble? Is this going to be like awkward here? And I'm like, well, people say I'm a Buddhist. I mean, I kind of teach Buddha. And he's like, yeah, I was up in the North Carolina in the mountains last year with a Zen monk. I'm like, oh, really? Okay, well, then I am a Buddhist. And then I'm like, so, I teach people in recovery. He's like, oh, I've been sober for 2 years. I'm like, okay, here we go. I got like, what are the chances? I'm on a golf course in Alabama, and the person I get paired up with is like basically a Buddhist in recovery. So we have this round of golf, and the main challenge of the round of golf was to not get heat stroke. So there was somebody coming around with a cart who had one of the employees had like washcloths on ice, and they would just hand you soaking cold washcloths. You just put it on your head, wipe it, guzzling water. We get to the end of the round, and I go to my car. I had one copy of One Breath at a Time. I handed it to this guy. He looks at the cover, he reads the title, and he goes, I've been looking for something like this for so long. And I mean, my heart just is like breaks open. It's like so sweet. And he tells me a lot about his family history and, just so, I mean, this is what I love about just being out here, right? being traveling and meeting people. And, of course, the retreats are fabulous and the classes are great. But then, you meet other people, right? So today I'm going up the Mississippi Blues Trail, which is just a thing. It's like I go from the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail to the Mississippi Blues Trail and covering, all my favorite things. And, again, it's like the sense of history here. And I've never been in Mississippi before. Alabama and Mississippi are the only two states I had never been in before. So I've checked off now all 50 states. And I've been reading the history of the civil rights movement. And, it's a little, it's just complicated, right? You're in this place that has so much horrible history. And yet out of it came this music that's so beautiful. And that changed the world, And it's like, how does that happen? So a lot of things come up. I get very emotional just talking about it. And I also, reading James Baldwin, you realize like the bullshit of like thinking that the South is the only place there was racism, and he was more frustrated with Northern liberals. He figured Southern racists were honest at least, but that in the North, we had redlining. Berkeley, California, where I live, supposedly such a progressive place, redlining. There were places in Berkeley where Black people could not buy a house. And so a lot, I know this isn't Buddhist recovery I'm talking about, so I hope anybody who's here, like, who really needs like a meeting, like I hope you go to a AA meeting today or an NA meeting or a recovery Dharma meeting. But certainly this is, part of our spiritual path, is looking at the complicated history, or for those of you who are Americans, complicated history of this country and coming to grips with it. And the story of B.B. King, it turns out there was like a white family that took care of him after his mother died when he was 5 years old. And, again, it's like, yeah, it's never simple. It's never simple. And of course it was, Eric Clapton and the Rolling Stones who made him a star. White America never recognized him until the British brought him forward. So more irony on top of irony. So, okay, one more totally irrelevant thing, which I hope you'll forgive me for. I was looking at the New York Times on my phone this morning, and there's a thing, it says, you can look at it today, either the 20 or the 50 best pizzas in the United States. So I'm just scrolling through, like wondering if there would be like the cheese board in Berkeley. I didn't get that far because I got to Cleveland, Mississippi, which is my next stop, which is where I was going to go after this. It's where the Grammy Museum is, half an hour up the road. Nina's Pizza. I'm like, okay, I'm going to one of the best pizza places in America today. So, I saw Reverend Freakchild was on here, and Reverend Freakchild is a blues musician of sorts, something. And I bet he's been up this trail. You there?
Many times, my friend. Many
times. Yeah.
Oh, I'm jealous. Yeah. You got B.B. King buried right in the backyard there, dude.
Yeah, well, I'm in his museum. I'm at the B.B. King Museum.
And I love that you found that Mike Bloomfield, that little error. You definitely got to let him know, man. That's great.
Yeah, I'll be reporting that. Like, oh no.
Yeah, when I was down there, it had just opened, and it was kind of haunting because there was just a big pile of dirt in the backyard. And I asked, I said, what's going on back there? And they said, we just buried BB King. And I guess there's all kinds of
Oh my
flowers and
God.
monuments and stuff down there.
Really?
It was kind of spooky, man, you know.
I
But
didn't see
now
that.
I'm really jealous, man. That's amazing. You're on the blues trail and the golfing. And thanks for the day,
They've
man.
got. Go ahead.
Oh no, I'm driving out of Salt Lake City. I was doing a show last night. I was on this blues show that's like the oldest radio blues show. 44 years this guy's been doing this thing out of Salt Lake City, of
Wow.
all places. And
Wow.
anyway, this is
Yeah.
just what I needed, man. And also your perspective of like the civil rights is a complicated thing, man. And you're reading James
Yeah.
Baldwin. It's beautiful, man. Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Watch out for the heat down there, man. Stay hydrated.
I mean, it is just brutal. It is brutal.
Yeah, I don't know why you picked the summer to go down there, but you know, you're feeling it.
I go where people invite me for it.
Right.
You know,
Right.
it's my responsibility to show up if people invite me.
I hear you. Next time, just maybe suggest, hey, why don't I come back in the winter? You know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You never know. You never know.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. I'm jealous, man. That's beautiful, man. And you get hit all 50. That's great. Well, I'm actually heading west, man. I don't know if you're back in Cali this weekend, man. I'd love to get together or something. I don't know what's your travels.
Not until July 8th.
Oh, wow. You're on the road for a while.
This weekend I'm in Ohio with my brother, and then next week I'm teaching a retreat in Indiana.
Oh, that's right, Indiana, right, with Greg. I was talking with him.
With
that's
Greg,
great.
yes.
All right.
Yes.
Safe travels, dude. That's amazing.
Thanks.
Blues on, brother.
Yeah, they've got BB King's bus in here, by the way.
Oh, right.
You expect to see his guitar, but you don't expect to see his bus.
Yeah, that's right. He toured all over. I mean, he was the ambassador of the blues, man. I mean,
yeah.
That's a special place. The Blues
Yeah.
Boy King, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right, dude.
So maybe we should get back on track and talk about recovery or the Dharma. I've been working with trying to find a way to teach loving kindness meditation as a meditation that feels right to me. And if you're I am not going through Colorado on my way home. I'm sorry. I'm flying home from Indianapolis on July 9th. Sorry, it's just like there was a chat came up. Just staying in the moment here. The popular way of teaching loving kindness comes out of something that was created 1,000 years after the life of the Buddha in a commentary called the Visuddhimagga, or the Path of Purification. And that's the process probably many of you have learned, where you start by giving loving kindness to yourself and to beloved people, and then to neutral people, difficult people. But the Buddha never taught that. And I've done that practice many times, but at a certain point, it stopped feeling comfortable for me. It started to feel kind of too structured and too mechanical. So, my book, Living Kindness, is kind of me engaging with this question. But it's not, that book isn't really about meditating. It's more about living kindness rather than practicing meditation of loving kindness. But I've been working in this past weekend. I was doing this, and I did it some other time recently, where I'm using phrases from the Buddha himself to teach loving kindness. And so what we see from the way he presents loving kindness is what he calls radiating. And so it's using the imagination to imagine that loving kindness is flowing out of you. So you do have to kind of get settled and generate a certain amount of positive energy. But I find that the phrases themselves that I use, and a lot of you have heard me, the phrase from the the Metta Sutta, let me finish that sentence. A lot of you have heard me do this. The phrase from the Lovingkindness Sutta that I particularly like is radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, free from hatred and ill will. So I've started to just repeat that. And when I repeat it to myself, I find it very uplifting. So I'm hoping that's conveyed to people. Now there's another set of phrases from the simile of the saw. I'm just going to see if I can bring all the words back. And it's where he's talking to the monks about not harboring any hatred for anyone or saying anything unwholesome to anyone or unskillful. And he says, one should train thus: I shall remain undisturbed with a mind filled with loving kindness. I'm not getting it quite right, but I'll radiate compassion to them. And then he says, I will pervading, this is terrible. I have it memorized when I don't try to think about it, right? But he says, with a mind imbued with loving kindness, pervading them with loving kindness, with a mind imbued with loving kindness. So this word imbued, a mind imbued with loving kindness, I find that it's a beautiful word. And someone asked me, well, what's imbued? I was like, well, so I mean, I knew what it meant, but I looked it up, and just to clarify, and it is this way in which you are permeated with something. And it actually, the origin of it goes back to a term that connects with water, which I really like, because there's another word in the sutras where the Buddha talks about being steeped in love, in rapture, and in piti and sukha, and rapture and happiness, but steeped or imbued, so that you're kind of like imagining your body being infused with loving kindness. And then at the end of that, it says, he describes loving kindness as abundant, exalted, and immeasurable. So I'm finding these words to be great kind of triggers for that state. I'll make an effort to pull out the phrases for you in the next week or two. Next week I'm going to be in Indiana on Tuesday, so it could be a tricky, but I'll try to remember to get that. I haven't printed out. These phrases from the simile of the saw. The simile of the saw is Majjhima Nikaya 21, in case you want to look it up. And I haven't read other translations, but it'd be interesting to see if there are other translations for this language. But pervading them with a mind imbued with loving kindness, and starting with them, pervading the all-encompassing world with a mind imbued with loving kindness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. So, I encourage you to work with loving kindness as a radiating practice. So again, well, not again, but to try to clarify, one of the things that we can do with our practice is create a sense of a spaciousness of mind. And I learned to do this through loving kindness practice, but it's also done with concentration practices, because in the jhanas, the fifth jhana is the realm of infinite space, and so it connects then with the concept of emptiness, spaciousness, and we don't have to be like enlightened or on some 3-month retreat to get to these states. Oh, thank you for putting that up there. It disappeared. It showed up. Let me see if I can get that back. I don't think I can. I have to learn how to use my phone for Zoom. But it's a really helpful practice to work with spaciousness, even beyond loving kindness practice, because it helps you to, just in terms of an emotional level, it helps you to get out of a kind of claustrophobic or like tense inner sense. It's a good antidote for restlessness. And then in a spiritual sense, it helps you to sort of see your mind as going beyond just your body and see that the mind is something that's not necessarily limited to a brain or a body, and it kind of connects you to the universe in a way. You sort of feel like, oh, I'm not separate from everything. So really, any way you can work with a spaciousness practice, I highly recommend. Joseph Goldstein has a great guided meditation that you can find on Dharma Seed that's called Big Mind. And in that practice, he guides you into this spaciousness practice. Yeah, I mean, it really can help you to step out of inner tension, stress, even like a craving. So there's a little bit of a Dharma teaching beyond Kevin's road trip. So so I'll just open it up and see if anybody wants to chime in. Love to hear from people. I can't see people if anybody raised their hand. So, Anne, you look like you're trying to unmute.
I did unmute. Can you hear me?
Oh, good. I can hear you.
Yeah,
And I'm happy to hear you.
yeah. I wanted to say hi and
Yeah.
happy to hear you're doing well, and mudita with all of the stuff you shared with with meeting people along the way, the special surprise moments. And what I wanted to say? Breath at a time. Oh, something that came up when you were talking about the South and out of the horror and the tragedy there came part of what came was this incredible life affirming, life giving music, right? And kind of instantly I thought, well, with you, with us, as your book, One Breath at a Time, came out of a place of, spiritual crisis and dis-ease and sorrow and whatever.
Yeah.
Curiosity. That because of that, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I get a lot of confidence in that, and faith in the continuing the practice. I've just been on vacation. I was on vacation for 4 weeks.
Oh,
and
wow.
Feeling really beautiful thing, like all this amazing stuff, the layers of history, like total lesson in permanence. Temples turning to cathedrals, turning to mosques, turning to art galleries, turning to rubble, all of this tense history, really far back.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I'm saying this, but why did I come up? Oh, so, and at the same time, not feeling grounded. because constantly moving and going.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I get to be home now and not rush.
Yeah.
Everything is not a rush. It doesn't have to be a rush. Meditation doesn't have to be a rush. Just like resting and receiving. I just thank you for being here. I appreciate you being here. And
Good to hear from you. Good to hear your voice. Yeah. You know, driving through downtown Indianola, I went past the Planters Bank. You know, I was like, oh, great. And then I also, like, at the hotel I stayed at, it was all Black employees, and I thought none of these people would have been allowed in this hotel 60 years ago, much less have a job there. But yeah, things change. At least there's that.
Slowly, but yeah.
Yeah. Still got a long way to go.
Yeah.
Steve,
Kevin,
hi.
I'll just step in real quick to say hi. I've got to go to my other class here shortly, but
Right.
you know, you're in an amazing place in Augusta National or the Masters, the Robert Trent Jones. I mean, you're like in golf heaven there. I just love it. Just wanted to share with you, I'm actually sitting outside where it's about 75 and I just got rained on.
Wow.
We got a little bit of storming going on here, but it's very nice and cool. And I'm just love hearing you talking about the different musicians. And of course, Reverend Freakchild, he always gets me pumped up, but I just wanted to say hi, and I'm glad that you're having a good trip, and I look forward to you on your return, and be safe.
Thanks, Steve. Achala thought, you know, I might be able to suggest a therapist in around New York for you if you email me. Cheryl, I mean, Monica, would you put my email in the chat, maybe?
It's already done, but I'll send them.
Okay, great. All right. And Cheryl, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so glad I'm here this morning, and I in this moment I'm practicing sila because I don't want to choke up. You're talking about the South and the blues. What came into my mind as you were talking, and you can hear I'm choking up. Kids get the blues, and I mean, kids understand the blues.
Yeah.
And when I was little, I knew what B.B. King was singing about. Like, you know, you can be a little kid and hear the depth, and it kept me going. Pop didn't keep me going. And so I'm just really grateful this morning. I'm taking inspiration in you talking about the history, and in you talking about the music that came out of the art, the creation that comes out of the suffering. I don't wish suffering on anybody, but holy shit, it has so much strength. And I really appreciate where you are, and that you know, in the middle of your travels, that you kept this time so that we can all be here. And thanks. It's given me strength for the day.
Thanks, Cheryl. The somewhat odd coincidence is that the woman I mentioned who gave me a ride after the retreat is named Cheryl Bates with an S. So it took me a while when you started to show up to know that you weren't her. Sanjeev.
I just a comment with regard to the hotel that you're staying in. Martin Luther King said, right? The arc of history is long, but it bends towards justice.
Yeah. I mean, I believe that as well. I mean, you know, we are certainly in this country, we have to some extent, some of us have been coming to grips with our history, particularly, you know, in the last 5 years. And inevitably,
okay. I can even drop off now.
I didn't hear what you said. What's the last thing you said? Well, in any case, and yet there's always pushback because people are afraid and people try to hold on to their power and their status and their prejudices. And so we're in a backlash period. And but yeah, I mean, when you don't have the same conditions we had 200 years ago, it's something. Robert, you have your hand up. Hello.
Hi, yes. I just want to say I'm grateful to be able to attend this meeting. I heard your podcast on 10% Happier, both of them, and very insightful. And I'm just looking forward to growing and learning and spiritually and in recovery. So I'll be attending these meetings from here on.
Great. Welcome. Thanks for
Thank you.
introducing yourself. Yeah. Are there any other hands up I'm not seeing? If not, I think I'm going to head off for the 19th best pizza in America, and I'll report back.
We want a full report, please.
Yes, yes. And if you follow me on Facebook, I am going to post some pictures of various things along the way. So
We want a slice.
yeah. Okay. Well, you're going to have to come down to Cleveland, Mississippi. You don't wind up in Ohio, you'll be in the wrong place. Well, those
Only if it's
Cleves,
only if it's vegan, gluten free.
I don't know. It apparently,
The
according
best
to the
pizza is
review,
in
It was a
Chicago,
joke,
though.
Kevin.
That's got to be.
yes, yes. According to the review, the woman is like Mexican heritage, and there's like one that's like got like refried beans on it or something. I don't, but I'm just going to go for the regular cheese. I want to see how good she does standard pizza. All right, you guys. Thanks for showing
Thank you,
up.
Kevin.
And we'll see about next week. I'll figure something out now that I can do this on my phone. Blessings.
Gratitude.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Kevin.
Bye,
Bye.
Kevin. Thank you.
Bye,
Great
everyone.
to see everybody.
Bye, everyone.
All right.
Gratitude, Monica and Tribe.
Okay, now I have to figure out how to get out of here.
Oh.
How do I? Oh yeah, end. Okay, I'm ending the meeting for all.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you, Monica.